All right, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 19th of March, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Tonight, game 3 of the Gauntlet. As we get to see again, I feel like we've seen the Toronto Maple Leafs ad nauseum of late. Probably because we have. This will be the third time for the Flyers since February 15th. Back on February 15th, Flyers were in Toronto. That is when Austin Matthews had that natural hat trick, but the Flyers were able to get it to overtime, lost the game 4-3. And then, of course, they played Toronto last Thursday, the last home game. That was the 6-2 defeat at Wells Fargo Center. Then Flyers lost on Saturday night in Boston 6-5, and it'll be back to add it tonight against Toronto. Is the third time the charm? We'll find out tonight. Not a lot of pre-scout on this one. We just did a pre-scout last Thursday for the Leafs, and all the same things hold true. You got to be extremely mindful when Austin Matthews is on the ice and William Nylander. Both scored in that last game on clear-sighted shots. And then you also have to be mindful of your positioning to not put them on the power play. Those are the big, big elements. Flyers maybe come out of that Boston game with showing some resiliency. They go down 5-2 in the game. They get it to 5-4. Then Boston scores to make it 6-4. Then Farabee scores with just over 2 minutes left. So some resiliency there. And maybe the other thing you can take from that Boston game, even though you didn't grab any points, is that they did a really good job in that game against David Pastrnak. I think he only had 2 shots on goal. And, Pastrnak doesn't go very often without ending up on the score sheet. Matter of fact, I think only 3 times this season, Pastrnak has gone back-to-back games without a point. So Flyers will see Boston again coming up this Saturday, but tonight it's the Flyers and Toronto. Thursday, Flyers will be in Raleigh to take on the Carolina Hurricanes. Saturday at Wells Fargo Center, 1 o'clock against the Bruins, and then Sunday, 6 o'clock against Florida. And then the Gauntlet wraps up on the 26th of March in New York against the Rangers. Then to round out the month, Flyers will have Montreal and Chicago. I do worry about letdown even in that situation, but we're not there yet. So can't worry about that just yet. Real quick before we get to our feature interviews in this episode, let's check on the standings in the Eastern Conference where the Flyers sit. They're in the Gauntlet. They've not gotten points in the first 2 games, and it's a missed opportunity. But they really have not lost much ground. They're still 3 points up on the New York Islanders. Islanders have a game in hand. The Islanders have played 67 games, have 73 points. Flyers have played 68 and have 76 points. 2 games in hand are the Washington Capitals, also 3 points back. And the Pittsburgh Penguins at 69 points. I don't think they're in this, but we'll see. The key number on both the Capitals and the Islanders is Caps are minus 30 in goal differential, and the Caps are minus 30, and the Islanders are minus 20. Flyers are minus 6 now by way of some pretty lopsided, or at least goals allowed, performances of late. We'll see how Sam Ersson bounces back tonight against the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll hear from Ersson this week. I had a chance to tape a bunch of interviews at the Flyers Carnival, and we're going to get to 2 now. The first one is going to be a guy that I think has been maybe one of the underplayed but most important storylines of this season, and that is the growth of Cam York, the development of Cam York. Of late, he has been hauling a ton of minutes, especially since the Sean Walker trade, the injuries to Jamie Drysdale, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Nick Seeler. Played 27 minutes and change the other night, and he's a guy that doesn't seem to fully empty his tank so he can play a lot of minutes. I think he manages his shifts very well. And you see that a lot of times with guys, defensemen, that can handle a heavy workload, whether that's a guy like Drew Doughty, who's handled a heavy workload, or Thomas Chabot, who's a heavy workload defenseman. And we've seen these guys throughout. Eric Desjardins was a great heavy load defenseman that their fitness is off the charts. The recovery is great, and they know how to manage the game without wasting energy on things that don't matter. The way Cam York handles the rush, I think, has just been stunningly good. the way he puts his body in position to block shots, the way he kills plays and defends, and we know about the offensive elements, which I think are going to get better. He has really been a huge bright spot to the Flyers in his development this season. And he's a confident guy. He's a chill guy, but there's a lot of competitor in there as well. So here's my conversation with Flyers D, Cam York from the Flyers Carnival. This is Flyers Daily from the Carnival, and we're with Flyers defenseman Cam York. How you doing? How you enjoying the day?
Doing good. It's a super fun day for us. Obviously, getting to interact with a bunch of fans. It's always a fun time, and yeah, just getting going here. So.
When you're this many games into the season, how do you feel physically, mentally, and all those things? It's a grind.
Oh yeah, it's a grind. Physically,
I mean, I feel like crap, and I'm not even playing.
I mean, physically, I've probably been better before, but this time of the year where we're at in the standings and stuff, you got to find a way to grind through it and put your best foot forward. So we're right there. We're in a playoff spot, so we gotta muster up some wins here and finish strong.
Were you a guy that was a shot blocker at any other levels? Because you've blocked a ton of shots this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it my whole career. It's something that I was just taught at a young age. It's how I was, raised to play the game, I think, and I take a lot of pride in it. I think it's important and can help you win games. So it's something that I've done for a while.
There's a way to do it properly too, to avoid or maybe mitigate some of the damage, because you're not like the goalie wearing all that big gear,
No. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely ways, but at the end of the day, if a guy
whatever it takes.
If he takes a slap shot and it hits you in the right spot on your foot, it's going to break it. So I've been fortunate this year not to have any broken bones, but knock on wood. So
Cam, I love the way that you defend the rush. I've talked about it a ton. And to me, a lot of it goes back to that you're not mentally daunted by it, and you're skating. You can put your body, you never seem to get your body like too far over your toes or out of whack, so you can kind of handle what comes to you. What's it been like kind of adjusting to the NHL and handling the rush?
Yeah, I think for me, ever since been playing my strong side, it's helped me a lot with that. When I was playing the right side, I struggled with it, I think. And now that I'm on my natural side, I think that's definitely helped.
Angling guys and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. But it's something that, I've definitely had to learn and practice because that, with some of the talent that's out there every night and having to defend top guys, it's tough. And there's times they're going to beat you, and that's how it is. It's a game. But, it's something that I've been trying to work on, and I'm going to continue to work on it.
Let's talk about workload in games. You've played the other game the other night against Boston. You play over 27 minutes in the game. Mm-hmm. Guys love being on the ice. You want to get out there as much as you can. What's it been like to take that much, responsibility in a game in minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I want to be out there as much as possible. I want to impact the game, in a positive way as best I can. Obviously, 27, that's a lot. And, it demands a lot from your body for sure. But, I think you ask any guy on our team, I think they would want to be up there too. So, I take pride in it. I want to, like I said, have a positive impact on the game. And when you're out there for that long, you can either, affect it in a bad way or a really good way. So, yeah.
When you're playing that much, have you learned some things about your body and how to recover that you had to change? Because, I mean, the workload, it's not only 27 minutes, it's 27 in the NHL, the toughest league in the world. Have you kind of learned some things like, okay, I need to maybe ice baths or rest and sleep and recovery?
Absolutely, yeah. It's recovery is huge, especially when you play 82 games in a season.
Yeah.
When you're playing that much and blocking shots and stuff, it's hard on your body. It just is. And, I've definitely taken my fair share of meds before the game and, getting the body feeling good. But, it's a challenge every night. And I've definitely have learned things that help me or things that, I don't do because it has affected me in a bad way. So, cold tubs. There's these things called Normatex that you kind of strap on your legs and get some good blood flow going.
Yeah, I have them at home. They're great. Yeah, they're squeeze them real good. Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm still learning. And like I said, I haven't been in the league forever, so I'm going to continue to learn and grow. So.
Last thing for you, you know, take me back to when you first got into the NHL and just how much more comfortable you feel now as a player and where you fit into it.
I think for me, it's like the game is just it's slowing down a little bit for me. When I
Mhm.
first came in, it was like, holy cow, these guys are flying all over
Yeah.
the place, and now it's I feel like I'm able to make reads before other guys are making reads, and I'm kind of just a step ahead of things now. So
Playing on instinct now, right?
yeah, I like the way that I'm trending, and I'm a really good player, and I'm going to continue to grow and get even better. So
I totally agree with that.
awesome. Thank you.
I love the way you're trending. Your game, I think, is growing by leaps and bounds, and you've been really impressive to watch. One of the great storylines of this year. Cam, enjoy the day. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cam York's development this season is one of the truly exciting things, a lot of exciting things. Development of some young players taking next steps, team being back in the mix and playing hard, the organizational standard and DNA. Those things are all very exciting, but Cam York is really, really having a great year. One he'll look to build on once it ends, but hopefully it goes beyond the NHL regular season. So thanks to Cam York for taking the time at the Flyers Carnival to speak with us as well. And also had a chance to check in with the boss of Flyers Charities. That's what we'll call her. We'll shorten her title for her introduction here. But Cindy Stutman does it all. And it's a ton of planning, and she's got a great team that works for her and with her. So here's my conversation with Cindy Stutman as the carnival was taking place and all the work that went into it. Joining us on this episode of Flyers Daily is Cindy Stutman. She is the senior vice president of community relations and executive director of Flyers Charities, and does a lot of work for the Flyers Carnival. We're here at it. What does it feel like to get here?
Surreal a little bit because we work all year long to get to today, and then the day of, and being here is like a whirlwind. But my team has killed it. They got here last night right after the Sixers game and have not left and set everything up and have worked the event. So it's a labor of love, but it's a very long labor.
When does planning begin for next year's? Tomorrow?
Well, we'll let them sleep tomorrow. But then Tuesday, we'll sit down and we'll recap, what went well, what we want to change.
Yeah. Do that while it's fresh.
Right. While we have it all fresh in our minds. And then it's a matter of, locking in the date. And it's really a year-round process.
Yeah. So much work goes into it. When you get to the day of it and you see the interaction that the players, the staff, the coaching staff, and they all have with the fans, that's the part that matters, right?
Yeah. I mean, you hear all the time about the Flyers family, and this today is what that is all about, right? Like you said it, from Dan Hilferty and Jonesy and Danny down to the players, down to our staff, down to the fans. And then to see the fans where this event crosses generations, you see grandparents with the parents and the kids, and they've all sort of done the carnival for many, many years, and it's part of their family traditions too. So it's awesome.
What was your first carnival experience? Because the carnival started in 1977, I believe. I was 5.
I was 1. So I started with the Flyers in 03, 04. So that was the first time I worked a carnival. So I worked it for many years before I was involved in Flyers Charities, and the last 3 years have been with Flyers Charities, and my team has put it together.
And it keeps evolving. That's the important part of it, is that there's an evolution to it, and it helps so many great charities. Like the amount of money that it has raised locally is incredible. When you look at how it's going to benefit the people here, how do you decide where that goes?
So at Flyers Charities, we do our giving in 2 pillars. One is support local families impacted by cancer, and the other is to grow the game of hockey to new and diverse audiences and participants. So, we do a grant program every year, and we work really hard to find really great partners that we can make an impact. Yeah. So just this year alone, we're working with a cancer organization called Ryan's Case for Smiles. So they were here a couple weeks ago. The wives were all here, and we sewed pillowcases for kids that are in the hospital. Awesome. Some with Flyers patterns, just like colorful, fun stuff to make their environment not so sterile. And we'll be hosting a workshop for siblings in April. So where they'll come in and have resources about how they can cope with what the family's going through, because cancer impacts the whole family, right? And they'll enjoy a game, and it's really cool. We're working on a rink we're rehabbing right now, which we'll announce in the coming weeks. But it's going to change a community and change hockey in that community. So there's a lot of really great things the money we raise goes to.
I love the element of families dealing with cancer, because it's such a horrible thing to go through. And then the game part of it too, with, I've always been a big proponent of growing the game, and the more people that play it, the more you understand it, the more you love it, because you know what you're watching. The players that you have at your disposal, the hockey players are so great because they're so good with the fans. And a lot of people see them as these gladiators on the ice, but they're a lot of them softies off it and really approachable.
Yeah, and especially this team, they're so great. Yeah. And we have partnered with a bunch of players on things this year where they have come to us about it.
I love that idea because they're invested already.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Lawton is sort of widely known how passionate he is about giving back, and he actively helped us plan Pride Night this year.
Yeah,
and helped plan the whole night. Garnet Hathaway, when there was a tragedy in Maine, said, "Hey, I want to raise money. I'm going to organize stick tape, and we're going to do an auction, and can we send the money to the Bruins Foundation?" So we've had guys come to us. Guys are lining up to do hospital visits. And if you walk the concourse at the event today, we have a lot of different boards where there's pictures throughout the year of all the different community appearances these guys have made. They're really, really fantastic.
See, the thing about that too is you have that with this group of, some veterans like Garnet Hathaway and Scott Lawton, but there's a lot of impressionable young pros here now too. And they're learning that from the jump. That's really important.
Yeah. And they've raised their hands too. A lot of them did some different hospital visits this year. And I think the thing about this group is they all understand that the community and how we impact community it's part of the gig and part of what makes this franchise special. Yeah.
Seeing like Joel Farabee's always had a Phillies hat on. Like, to me, that's not a Philadelphia Flyers hockey player. That's a citizen of our community.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah. And I think that's the line, right? These aren't just guys that are, checking the box.
Yeah. Mercenaries we bring in to play hockey.
No, they want to be part of this community and they want to make an impact. Just last week, we went to Ronald McDonald House, and Scott Lawton and his wife, Chloe, and Owen Tippett and his wife, Taylor, and Ryan Paling all served dinner to all the people staying in Ronald McDonald House and had the best time. They were so into it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, another great job on the Carnival. I know that a ton of work goes into it. It's dizzying what you guys do to pull this off. You've done it again. Thanks for doing this.
You need to let me shout out my team real quick.
Go ahead.
So Julia Doherty is really the mastermind behind this year's Carnival and has planned everything, organized it, and just frankly killed it
again. Yep.
Christine Sibley, Ryan Hemsley are the rest of the charities team, and working with our events team, Caroline Calhoun, Meredith Tracy, and Caleb Norton. Thank you.
They did a great job. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Cindy, enjoy maybe one day off.
Thanks.
Thanks to the one and only Cindy Stutman for taking the time out of what is a very busy day and a very busy time for her and Flyers Charities. They've done it again. They just managed to pull off this Carnival beautifully each and every year. And there was a real cool vibe at the Carnival yesterday. Even though the team hasn't won the last couple of games, there was definitely a cool vibe at the Flyers Carnival. If you want any information on the Carnival, go to flyerscarnival.com. You can get all the information there on Flyers Charities and some auctions that are still up and running for the Flyers Carnival as well. So thanks to Cam York. Thanks to Cindy Stutman. Thanks to you. Flyers Leafs tonight. We'll break it down tomorrow. Join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.